Right, yes, can you all hear me? Yes, online students, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear.
Right, fine, good. You have a good day to all of you. So, how was the things? Yes, online students, how are you all? Keeping fine? Yes, keeping fine? Yes, Sena, what do you think?
Yes, sir, it's
updates
good, sir. Why not?
9:12 സൈറ്റ് ഓഫീസിലെ
Okay, fine. Sadhula, how's the things? Sadhula? Then, Haruna Sena?
Sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, good, fine. Right. Students, how are you? Very good. Very good. Very good in the sense, you are doing well, no? Right, so how was the week? How was the week? Very tired, isn't it? Tired. Very tired. Okay. Why you are tired? You are talking easy. Will increase the equity portion. Will increase to 25. Will bring down the debt portion. That's not it. Yeah, shall we increase this up to 24, 25? Most of the boys and finance condition. Right, so thank you very much. So 22. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Right. Okay. So again, very good afternoon to all of you. So we'll start our today's session. Now, up to which point we know about monopoly market structure. Now, still we are discussing about monopoly market structure, and today hopefully we can complete this entire lesson, and we can start your next lesson, that is monopolistic competition. Right? Monopolistic competition. Now, if I provide you a brief summary regarding the things that we have learned at the very beginning, we understood what is a monopoly. Right, so simply if a particular market is dominated by 1 or 2 or even 3 big players, right? So we could consider it as a monopoly market structure. And one of the most important thing in this monopoly market structure is that they can decide their price. Right? They can they can. Right? Yeah. So one of the prominent features coming under this monopoly market structure is that they can decide the price of their product, right? They can decide the price of their product. On the other hand, this product is more significant product. Most of the time, it is an essential product where you don't have, most of the time you don't have any close substitutes for that product, right? So then we discuss some of the conditions, we discuss this monopoly market structure, right? So dominant companies are there and there are no close substitutes for this particular product and strong barriers to entry, right? So most of the information actually we don't know, right? Even the cost of the raw materials, what are the raw materials, the business process, we don't know much of the information. Then we discuss about this monopoly power, how a particular company can get the monopoly power in the market. It is because of two reasons. The first one is they can decide their price as well as no close substitutes for the product. Accordingly, automatically, they are having this particular power in the market. Okay. Then we discuss about the demand curve of the monopoly market structure. It is downward sloping demand curve. It indicates that even though you can decide the price of your product, you cannot sell your entire output for that price. If you want to sell more, you have to bring the price down. If you want to increase the price, you have to sell a lower quantity. Accordingly, your demand curve is downward sloping. Right. So thereafter, we learn about their marginal revenue curves. And here you learn that why the marginal revenue curve keeps below the average revenue curve. Simply, the reason is if you want to sell additional unit, you have to bring the price down. Accordingly, the additional income that you are getting is lower than your previous income. That is why our marginal revenue curve keeps below average revenue curve. Right. So based on that, we did certain analysis. Right. Then we discuss about the price and output of a monopoly market structure. It is again based on marginal revenue and marginal cost. And this is what we did. Right. So we understood why these curves are behaving in this kind of a nature, how to get the profit maximizing output, how to tackle the total revenue, total cost, as well as how to get the profit portion. Right. So thereafter we discuss about the long run equilibrium of the monopoly market structure. Now here the special feature is even though they operate in the short run or even though they operate in the long run, they are earning profits. Right? They are earning profits. Right. So this is the condition that we have learned when it comes to the long run price output, long run equilibrium of the monopoly market structure. Simply the short run marginal cost and long run marginal cost are equal, and that is also equal to the marginal revenue. And their short run average cost and long run average cost are also equal, and the price is greater than their long run average cost. So this implies they are making profits in the long run. So finally, I think we discussed this comparison between the perfect competition and the monopoly market structure. Is that right? So if you have any doubt, you can. I think you all have studied well, and you all are doing your studies well, isn't it? So we did some calculation in our previous stage. So we understood that we don't have any time to study. Have you started studies? Have you started? Still enjoying, isn't it? Still enjoying. Right. So please check whether you're okay up to now. Go and check. I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes. Please check whether you're okay with these things. Yes. Now, can you all see this Pula? Yes, online students, I think you can see this, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Online. Yes. So now here what happens, first let us discuss about the short run equilibrium of the monopoly market structure. Now here the condition is again marginal revenue must be equals to marginal cost. Right? Now here you got to know that the average revenue curve is downward sloping and the marginal revenue curve is also downward sloping. Now for us to determine the profit maximizing output, first we need to determine what are the curves that we need. Simply, since it's the condition is marginal revenue and marginal cost, we need those two curves. We need marginal revenue curve and the marginal cost curve. On the other hand, we need to determine the profit figures. For us to determine the profits, we need our average cost as well as average revenue. So that is how we determine what are the curves that we must want to draw in a particular graph. Right? Now, in the short run or even in the long run, these people are earning profits. So simply, you need to draw this curve to illustrate what? Profit. right, to illustrate the profit. So accordingly, you could see the green color line is your average revenue curve, right? So the green color line is your average revenue curve, and the red color line indicates your marginal revenue curve. Then this is your marginal cost curve. This is the usual behavior of this particular cost curve. And this is the behavior of average cost curve. Now, the profit maximizing condition is the point where the marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. Now, MR equals MC happens according to this graph at point E, right? So there, this is your MC curve and this is your MR curve. So at point E, that happens. And accordingly, you have to produce this much of quantity to maximize your profit. M number of quantities to maximize your profit. So if you go along this curve, first you are going to meet your average cost curve. And this is the minimum point of the average cost curve, and you're operating under that. So this is your average cost. P1 is your average cost. So once you multiply this P1 with the relevant quantity, here you are getting your total cost. Accordingly, this entire white color square represents your total cost. Then we were at here, then we are going along here again. So then we are going to meet our average revenue curve. So this is your average revenue, that is P. So if you multiply your average revenue P by your quantity, that is M, you are going to get your total revenue. So this yellow color, pink, yellow color, green color, orange color area, and this white color area represents your total revenue. So this is your total revenue. Right? So you are earning this much. You are earning simply PS M0 amount. However, your cost is only this much, P1T M0. Accordingly, monopoly company earns a profit of this much, which is equals to PS, P1 and T. PS, P1 and T. Is that clear, Buddha?
Yes, sir.
Good. All of you? Okay, again, right, good. Now, when it comes to the long run, we know that when it comes to the long run, you can change all of your inputs. Accordingly, all of your inputs are variable, right? So you can even change your factory size, machines, everything. So now we are going to learn about how these people are earning profits in the long run. Now, even in the long run, monopoly company earns profit, right? Monopoly company earns profit. Now here, what you need to know is when we are discussing about the long run, we have to consider about some additional curves rather than the usual curves that we have used to explain the short run equilibrium of the monopoly market structure. Right? So here you could see you have your average revenue curve, that's fine. Then you have your marginal revenue curve, right? You have your marginal revenue curve. Now, when it comes to your marginal cost and average cost, you need both short run cost curves as well as long run cost curves of these two cost components. When it comes to the marginal cost, you need your short run marginal cost as well as long run marginal cost. Why? We are discussing about the long run. And also, you need to have your long run average cost as well as your short run average cost. Right? So these are the cost curves that you need to draw the graph which is relevant to the long run monopoly market structure. And again, you need to draw this graph to illustrate the profit, right? You need to draw this graph to illustrate the profit. Okay. So now the condition is again in a very simple way, right? Marginal revenue must be equals to marginal cost. But here we consider about marginal revenue must be equals to long run marginal cost curve. Now this blue color line indicates your long run marginal cost, and this red color dotted line indicates your marginal revenue. Accordingly, this is the point. Hence, you have to produce this much of quantity to maximize your profits, right? So if you go along this curve, first you are going to meet your long run average cost because we are in the long run. Right? So T is your long run average cost. So once you multiply your T with the corresponding quantity, this entire white color area is your total cost. And if you go along this curve, you are going to meet your average revenue curve. And your average revenue is P. So once you multiply your P with the L, you are getting your total revenue, like our previous discussion. Right? So your total revenue is PQ L0 amount. And your total cost is TH L0 amount. So which is higher? Profit or which is higher? Total revenue or total cost? Total revenue is higher. Accordingly, your long run profits are equal to PT QH, right? PT QH. So that is a simple analysis. But if you look at this particular graph carefully, now when you are saying marginal revenue equals to long run marginal cost, at that time you can see there's a short run marginal cost as well, right? So in here, your marginal revenue is equals to, when it comes to point E, your marginal revenue equals to your long run marginal cost as well as short run marginal cost. So that is the first condition actually, right? Then we went along this curve and we met our long run average cost curve, the minimum point of our long run average cost curve. In here, you could see, right, on your long run average cost curve, you have something called your short run average cost. Right, so this is something what we have discussed in our first discussion. When you are moving along your long run average cost curve, you are passing different short run average cost curves. Simply, your long run average cost is equals to the collection of the minimum points of your short run average cost. So that is why our short run average cost is there, right? So each and every point we have our short run average cost. That is the second condition. Right? At this point, our long run average cost is equals to short run average cost curve. That is the second condition. And the third one is, anyway, we are earning profits accordingly. This is our price for the average revenue. Our average revenue must be greater than our average cost. Average revenue must be greater than average cost. So these are the three conditions in a long run equilibrium of a monopoly market structure. Marginal revenue must be equals to long run marginal cost as well as short run marginal cost. Then short run average cost must be equal to long run average cost. This is the point. And finally, price must be greater than cost. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right, fine, no worries. You guys okay? Great. Right. So now let us move to learn about monopoly, resource allocation, and social welfare. Right? So let us learn about these things: monopoly, resource allocation, and social welfare. Right. Okay. So now let's read this and we'll have a discussion. Right? Let's read this and we'll have a discussion. Now, you know what is monopoly, right? So now you have a fair understanding about what monopoly is. Now, what do you think about resource allocation means what? Resource allocation. Now we know that resources are scarce or unlimited. It's scarce. But human needs and wants are unlimited. Accordingly, we have to provide these resources into production units in a very careful manner. That is what, in a very simple way, what resource allocation means. Without having much wastages, right, to maximize the output. And what do you mean by social welfare? Social welfare, we need to maximize the what? social well-being. Very simple way. So we are going to learn about this under monopoly market structure. Right. So here, you usually know that when it comes to the monopoly market structure, the price is higher or lower than the cost of production. Usually it's high, but it is lower. Sometimes the produced cost of production of a particular tablet could be 20 rupees, but you are paying more than 1,000 to purchase it. But you are not going to claim on it. Isn't it? Why? Because you are purchasing medicines for particular illness. So what is the higher priority? That is your patient, right? Your highest priority is your patient, irrespective of the cost of production and the price. You are going to purchase and provide the particular medicine to your patient. But sometimes you cannot see the hidden profits in here. The cost of production is 20, but the selling price is 100. Apparently, there's a 980 profits. Huge profit margin is there. So accordingly, what happens? You are paying higher price, but you are consuming a higher quantity or a lower quantity. Huh? Lower quantity, right? You are paying more and you are consuming lower quantity, right? Earlier, we used to take this petrol, diesel and all at the price of 130, isn't it? But now the price is how much? It's 400. We are paying more, but getting less. Right? So that's what happened in a monopoly market structure hiddenly. That is what we are going to learn. Now, in a simple way, what do you think? In this kind of a market structure, can you get the maximum of the social welfare? Are you all satisfied with this? No, because you are paying lower amount, you are paying higher amount, but you are purchasing smaller quantities. So you cannot utilize you cannot maximize your utility, your satisfaction. Right? So accordingly, usually they are saying when it comes to the monetary market structure, the welfare is lower. Welfare is lower. We are paying high, but getting low, and our satisfaction is at minimum. Yes, right. So let us read. So that is what here it's explained all about. Now here it says monopoly is often criticized in that it causes misallocation of resources or economic inefficiencies in resource allocation. So here we are saying the resource allocation is not at the optimum level, right? Optimum level. By economic efficiency, we mean that resource allocation to the production of goods is such that it maximizes social welfare, that is satisfaction of the consumers. By simply resource allocation, how we need to do it? We need to allocate the available resources to maximize the satisfaction of the consumers. If it is not there, we cannot say the social welfare is maximized at that time, right? Then here it says, when it comes to the monopoly market structure, resources are misallocated, right? Resources are misallocated, causing loss of social welfare. We are not getting the maximum satisfaction, right? So as we discuss about when a product is produced and sold under conditions of monopoly, the monopolistic gains at the expenses of consumers who have to pay a higher price than the marginal cost of the production. So their gain is high, right? Their gain is high because we are paying more. This results in loss of consumer welfare, right? Consumer welfare. We are paying high. Again, I'm saying the same thing now. We are paying high, but we are getting lower quantity. Accordingly, our satisfaction is lower, thereby welfare is lower. Then, it says, which is great. Monopoly gain consumer cost. We need to check, right? So to analyze this, we are using a partial equilibrium approach by using the concept of consumer surplus, right? So I know that you all have a very good understanding about consumer and producer surpluses, right? Consumer and producer surpluses. Fine. Now it will be recalled the surplus of the price which consumers are prepared to pay for a commodity rather than go without it over and the above what they actually pay for it. Now, what do you mean by consumer surplus? In a very simple way, consumer surplus means what? A particular rectangle. Triangle is the something like this. Right, so what do you mean by two circles? Simply the price that you willing to simply the difference, the difference between the price that you willing to pay and the actual price that you pay is simply known as surplus. Consumer surplus. Right. So let's see how it happens. Right. Let's see how it happens. Please, up to down. So read this carefully, check whether you're okay with this up to now. Right? Are you all okay? Fine. So now let's see how it happens. Right. So I will explain it by using this particular graph here. Yes, the online students, can you all see the cursor here?
Yes, sir.
Right. So now this is what we are going to explain in a very simple way. Again, I'm saying we have to pay high prices and we have to purchase lower quantity. Accordingly, consumer satisfaction is very low, then the social welfare will be low. Right. Now, If you look at this particular graph, here you could see your demand curve, and here you could see your marginal revenue curve. Right, demand curve is there, marginal revenue curve is there. And here you have a particular curve, right? That is your marginal cost curve. Now, before we are going to explain about what happens in the monopoly market structure, let's look at what happens in the perfect competitive market structure by looking at this particular graph. Right? So you know that when it comes to the perfect competitive market structure, their marginal cost is equals to price. Right? Their marginal cost is equals to price. Accordingly, right? If you look at this particular curve, right? So perfect competitive company is charging a price which is equal to TC, and they are going to sell a quantity which is equal to N, right? Price at this price to N, right? It is equal to N. Now, when it's come to the monopoly, right? Now, when it's come to the monopoly, what happened? Let's see. Now, before that, tell me when the price is P and the dead quantity is N, what is the consumer surplus? I mean, in letters. Yeah, let's assume the price is P and the quantity that they are going to sell is N. What is the consumer surplus in terms of letters? What is the consumer surplus? Yes, tell me. Yes. T P A. Correct? Consumer surplus. Do you know what is consumer surplus? Isn't it? You know it, right? You know it, right? So I assume that you know what is consumer surplus in a very simple way. Right. So when the price is P and you are going to sell this much of a quantity, right? So the consumer surplus is here. Right. So this entire triangle is a consumer surplus. Now, forget about perfect competitive market structure. Let's discuss about the monopoly market structure. Now, what happens? When it's come to the monopoly market structure, you are getting your profit maximizing output by the condition that is MR equals to MC. Right? In a very simple way, we could see this is the point. Right? This is the point. Don't think about that MC curve must go like this. Anyway, there's an MC curve. Right? So at this point, you are going to get your equilibrium. Then, as a monopoly company, you are going to produce M number of quantity. Clear? You are going to produce M number of quantity. And if you go along this curve, you could see you are going to meet your average revenue curve. Right? What about the average revenue? It's PA. Right? It's PA. Right? So simply you are charging PM quantity, so PM price, and you are only providing M number of quantities to the market. Is that clear? But earlier, when it comes to the perfect competition, you are charging PC amount of price, which is equals to your marginal cost, and you are providing N number of quantities to the market. Clear? So we say perfect means perfect, right? Perfect means perfect competition. So their price is equal to their marginal cost. So at that time, they are charging a price which is equal to PC, and they are providing this much of a quantity to the market. But due to the monopoly, what happens? They are charging a higher price from the consumer, but they are only delivering how many quantities? Lower quantities to the market. Clear? Lower quantities to the market. Right? So simply earlier it is OM, but now it's OM. Clear? OM. Accordingly, what will happen to your consumer surplus? It's reduced. Right? It's reduced. Right? Now this is the monopoly gain, right? This is the profit, simply the monopoly gain, right? Earned by the monopoly out of your consumer surplus. And this is the remaining portion for you. As a consumer, this is the remaining portion. For this, what will happen? That is the loss in social welfare. Loss in social welfare due to monopoly. We call it as what? Deadweight loss. Deadweight loss. In a very simple way. Right? In a very simple way. Deadweight loss. Right? Earlier, if it is a perfect competitive market structure, this is your consumer surplus. Right? You are charging a reasonable price, which is equals to your marginal cost, and you're offering this much of a product to the market. But when it comes to the monopoly, the condition is MR equals MC, that happens here. And accordingly, you are only offering OM quantities to the market, which is lower than the previous. But here, your price is also high. Right? Your price is also high. Accordingly, this is the portion remains to the consumer, and this is gained by the monopoly, and here it's nothing. Nothing to the society as well. So the social welfare is not there. So loss of part in the consumer surplus for the social welfare, we call it as deadweight loss. Right? So this is how we incorporate our practical discussion into this particular graph. Right? So we said that when it comes to the monopoly market structure, we have to pay high price and we have to purchase lower quantity. Accordingly, consumer satisfaction is lower. Then social welfare is lower. That is how we incorporate those. This is how we incorporate that discussion into this graphical illustration. Right? Could you please read this? Right? So if you have that idea, actually no need to read, but just first look at whether you can explain this. Right? First check whether you can explain, then you can read these things. Carefully check whether you can explain this first. Yes, online students, are you clear with this? Online students?
Yes, sir. It's fine, sir.
Fine. Yes, you all? Can you explain this alone? Right? First, what you need is don't memorize these things. Right? Think in a practical way. Think what actually happens in the practice, because it's very much practicable, isn't it? So when you go to a pharmacy, you can witness these type of things. So consider about that, right? Then incorporate this one into this particular graph. Just a moment. Right, okay, fine. So now, you know what happens what's happened to the social welfare when it comes to the monopoly market structure. Right, so we are going to the final part under this, that is price discrimination, right? That is price discrimination. Now, do you have any idea about price discrimination? Yes, any idea about price discrimination? Yes. As opposed to algorithm kalam. As of those who are reading the boundaries of the law. Yes, that's of those who are reading of the law. Yeah. Excellent. Will I divide the price of coconut? Right, very good. That's now for very good. Rani is from India. The price of a coconut is nearly 50. Price of a coconut is 50, right? Good. That's the actual price. Now have some also in the round. What is the price of a coconut here? 120. Right? Now in Pulia, price of the coconut is 50. In Colombo, price of a coconut is 120. Is there a difference between these coconuts? Simply no, right? Simply no. But the prices are different, right? Sometimes the cost of production would also be same, right? Cost product is same, it's coconut, right? If we put it in a very simple way, the cost of production is also same. Yes, we make it in a very simple manner. But the price that you sell in that particular product is different, right? In Pulia, it's 50, but the same supplier come into Colombo. Additional traveling cost is also there, and he's selling that particular product at price of 120. So we call this as what? Price discrimination, right? This simple way, price discrimination. So the selling the same product, right? In different prices without changing the cost of the production, right? Product is same, cost of production is same, but your selling price is different. Right? So you do these things because as a producer, you know how the market. Right now it is. Now when it's not to we have limited space in our hands. maximum 10%. Sometimes here let's say 10%. And people will comment and very difficult, isn't it? Very difficult. So those producers know these things. Simply the demand. Why tell to people for those components? Simply that is the elasticity of the demand. Right? Simply that is the elasticity of the demand. So which kind of elasticity is it to be the perfect? Is it elastic or is it inelastic demand for component? Elastic or inelastic? I can only be elastic. Inelastic or elastic? The same in or in. If it is inelastic demand, whatever the price, we have to go and we have to purchase because we have to prepare for discipline. Right? So producers know these things. Simply the demands in different market structures. When it comes to Colombo, there is a inelasticity demand for this particular product. So what they do, they are charging higher price. Because they know that whatever the price that they quote, people come and purchase their product. Because Colombo people, they don't have components. They don't have. Clear? So that is how these people targeting the markets. Clear? That is what is simply known as price discrimination in a very simple way. Price discrimination in a very simple way. Right. So here you could see it says monopolies can discriminate prices for his product. The monopolist will be increasing his total profits by discriminating the prices if he finds, right, look at that, if he finds that elasticities of demand at a single monopoly price are different in different markets. If the producer get to know that demand for this particular product is different based on different market structures, he charges different prices. Very practical, right? He charges different prices. So that is what we known as price discrimination. Price discrimination. So when it comes to the price discrimination, there are three types. We have first degree price discrimination, and the other one is second degree price discrimination. Third one is third degree price discrimination. Very simple to memorize, isn't it? First degree, second degree, third degree. First degree price discrimination, second and third degree price discrimination. Now here, what do you mean by first degree price discrimination? First degree. In here, what happens? Sellers are trying to get the maximum out of the maximum from the consumers. Sellers are trying to get the maximum price from consumers. For example, what is the example? Durables, am I correct? Right, so they are trying to get the maximum price. Get the maximum price. So whenever you want people to particular job, what they simply serve with a cup of tea or a fruit juice coupled with a cake. Right? So then they say, yes, this is the available designs that we have. If you want, we can expand these designs. So we have professional designers as well. So that is how they capture the additional part of the consumer surplus. Okay? That is simply first degree price discrimination. They are trying to get the maximum price from the customers. First degree price discrimination. Clear? Right. Then the second one. Second degree price discrimination. What do you mean by that? Producers are trying to charge different prices for different quantities. Right? Yeah, we need to charge different prices for different quantities. Any examples? Simply, so we have peak time and off peak times. So depending on these time schedules, prices vary, right? When it comes to 30 minutes, 90 minutes, certain price levels are there. After that, it's different. If you purchase all these and the supermarkets and everything, sometimes you are getting the quantity discount. Even discount also would be considered as a second degree price discrimination because prices that you charge different from different quantities. Yeah, that is in the second degree price discrimination. Prices that you charge is different from different quantities, right? So first degree price discrimination is there, second degree price discrimination is there, and we have the other one. What is that? Third degree price discrimination, right? Third degree price discrimination. Now, what I was in here, have you been to Candy by train? Say yes, you have this, right? Now, what are the segments in the train? Stuff. If you have GB more than 3.0, if you can go in first class, it's okay, right? So you have first class, second class, second go, second, third class, right? So we have first class, second class, and third class. Now, if you are going on first class, the price is high. But again, the second class, the price is different. Third class also price is different. Right? So price is being charged based on the service provider. That is what we know as third degree price discrimination. We are charging different prices from different consumers. Different prices from different consumers. If we want to go observation, different price. But same train, same fuel, whatever, same journey. But different prices. That is simply what we know as third degree price discrimination. Okay, so here you could see airline, yeah, so we have economic class, right, business class, and as well as railway. We are charging different prices from different consumers based on the services that you are using. So what is first degree price discrimination again? As a producer, you are charging to get the maximum price from your consumer. Second degree price discrimination means you are charging different prices for different products or output for the quantities that the consumer is consuming. Right? Third one is you are charging different prices from different consumers. Different prices from different consumers. Clear? Right? Yes, online students, are you okay? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Yes, what about others? Are you all okay with the things online students?
It's fine, sir.
Yes, okay.
Simple. Right. So finally, we are going to discuss about the disadvantages of monopoly market structure. Now, what are the disadvantages? You need your knowledge. Right now, the first one is low motivation and low competition. Why is that? Because you know that sometimes you are the only person who produces and sells that product. So you know that I'm the king of this particular market. So whatever the consumer believes, I don't care. They have come and purchase everything from myself. So low motivation is to come up with new innovations due to lower competition. And the resources are not being utilized efficiently. Right? Because you don't have any competitor. So if there is a competitor, what you do, you have to provide a particular product to the market at a reasonable price. So since we have to consider about that, we are going to align to all the cost elements to come up with a fair price to the market. Accordingly, you are considering about your resources. But here, you are not doing this. Right? Here you are not doing it because you know that you are the player in the market, you can charge any price and the consumer has to come and purchase from you. Okay? And the consumer has to pay more amount than the cost of the resources. That is what we have been discussing all the time. And we are paying more. And low motivation or tendency to improve the quality. Yes, quality concerns are there. Because we don't have any competition, that's the main issue. And welfare is not at a maximum level. We are paying more and we are consuming less and we are not satisfied. We are not satisfied. So these are some of the disadvantages under monopoly market structure. Right, so finally, there's a homework for you all. You need to find out what are antitrust laws and regulations. Right, you need to find out what are antitrust laws and regulations. Right, okay, so please look into your lecture materials again. I will give you a summary within 2 or 3 minutes. Right, so just go to your lecture materials. With online students also, please go to your lecture materials from the beginning. I mean, on the monopoly market structure. So just look at the things that we have done. I'll give you a summary at the end. Right? Are you all okay? Right, so this is the summary within 2 minutes regarding the monopoly market structure that we have discussed. So please think carefully whether you are okay within each of these elements up to some extent. Right, so again, I'm saying now when it's come to the monopoly market structure, we learned that usually if it is a pure monopoly, there's a one company in the industry. Simply one company dominates the industry, but sometimes there could be 2 to 3 companies depending on the industry in each and every country. And when it comes to this monopoly market structure, there are special features. Simply, when it comes to the price, you can determine the price of your product because there are lower number of competitors in the industry who can compete with you. Then you don't have much close substitutes for your product, and the imperfect information is also there. Those are some of the features in monopoly market structure. Then we discuss something called monopoly power, that is, you can decide the price and there are no close substitutes for your product. Accordingly, automatically you are having a particular power in the market because all the consumers must want to come to your company to purchase that product because most of the time it is an essential product. So that's why they have to come to you. Automatically, you have a power in the market. Clear? Then we discuss about the demand curve of the monopoly market structure. Simply, it's a downward sloping demand curve. Why? Since you can determine the price, but you cannot sell how much you're going to sell at each. You cannot sell all of your quantities for that particular price. Clear? If you want to sell higher quantity, you have to bring the price down. If you want to increase the price, you have to sell lower quantity. Accordingly, your demand curve is downward sloping. Thereafter, we discuss about marginal revenue curve and why your marginal revenue curve keeps below your average revenue curve. Below your average revenue curve. That is because if you are going to sell additional quantity, what will happen? The additional income that you are going to get is low. That is why your marginal revenue curve keeps below your average revenue curve. Okay. Right. So then we discuss about the profit maximizing condition of the monopoly market structure, the short run aspect as well as the long run aspect. Now, both of the time, the common criteria is simply marginal revenue must be equals to marginal cost. Then we discuss about how we determine the number of curves that we are going to use to draw this graph. Since the condition is MR equals to MC, we need marginal revenue curve as well as marginal cost curve. Right? And also, we are considering about the profits of the company. Accordingly, we need average cost as well as the average revenue. So we need to have 4 curves to draw this particular graph. And the thing that you want to remember is you need to draw this graph to illustrate profits. Because in the short run as well as in the long run, you're earning profits. Clear? Good. Then we moved our discussion into long run explanation. In there, I told you that in the long run, all our inputs becomes variable. So you can change your plant size and whatever the fixed assets in your short run could be converted into variable in the long run. Now, when it's come to the long run profit maximizing output, we need to consider about the marginal revenue curve, average revenue curve, marginal cost and average cost curves. But the difference is when it's come to the marginal cost and average cost curves, we need to have both short run and long run marginal cost curves and average cost curves. Based on that, we can draw that particular graph. Right? And there are 3 conditions that you have to satisfy. What are those? Your marginal revenue must be equals to short run marginal cost as well as long run marginal cost. Your long run average cost must be equal to short run average cost. So we discussed all the rationale behind these things, right? All the rationales, because we all are university students, you need to have that knowledge, right? Just not only saying these 2 equals, it doesn't make any sense. So you need to go in depth. So we went that depth and we understood those things in a very rational way. Then final one is your price must be more than your average cost. Clear? Right. After that, we did a small comparison between the perfect competition market structure and the monopoly market structure. So today we started with social welfare resource allocation in the monopoly market structure, right? So simply in a monopoly market, we have to pay more price and we have to purchase lower quantities. Accordingly, we are less satisfied and the social welfare is not at the optimum level. So we analyze that this practical incidents by incorporating all these things into a graph. First, we analyze what happens if the things are more towards on perfect competition. What is the price and the output? What is the consumer service? Then to analyze the change, we take the monopoly market structure into our discussion. Then we analyze, right? So they are asking a higher price, but lower quantity. What will happen to the consumer welfare? And finally, we understood something called dead weight loss, right? Then we discuss about price discrimination. So simply you are selling the same product at different prices without changing the cost of the production. So there are three types: first degree price discrimination, second degree price discrimination, and third degree price discrimination. So we understood what are the meanings of each and every discrimination categories with their examples. Finally, we discuss about the disadvantages, and there's a homework for all of you. That is to find out what are antitrust laws and regulations. Clear? So this is the time for you to ask if there are any questions. Yes, online students, you can ask any question, right? Any question. All the issues are sorted out. Will be sorted out. Will be sorted out. Right, you can ask any questions, huh? Any doubts? Any doubts? No doubts? 100% okay? Yes, online students, any difficulties? So are you all okay? Yes, are you all okay? Online students having breakfast, or having lunch, or even dinner. Right, okay, so that's simply the end of our monopoly market structure. Now we can start our next topic, that is monopolistic competition, and the lecture period has been uploaded to your LMS. Right, so how about your individual design? Is it going on? Or is it active of March? Isn't it? 6th of March, right? So is it going on? We have started with it. Have you started? Very good. So what is the hypothetical company? Yes, what is your hypothetical company? A. Much good. Good. Yes, how about you? Much good. Yes, what about you? About that. You started. No, started. No, next time. Ask. Yes, started. Yes, started. Yes, online students, have you all started your individual assignments? Yes. Have you all started Sadarua? Have you all started your individual assignment?
Yes, sir. We have started.
Very good. So what is your hypothetical company?
It's a restaurant.
Okay, restaurant, and you need to take one particular product, huh? Only
Yes.
one product.
Yes.
Okay, good. What about others? Right, fine. So then how about the progress of your group assignment? Say given with the deadlines. How about the progress? Would you like to share the progress with me? I can help you, isn't it? Yes, any progress of your group assignment? I received the group list, give it much. Look at that. Yes, any progress? Have you find out a particular company? Right, and you need to justify, right? So if you are saying a particular company is belonging to a monopoly, perfect competition, monopolistic competition, or even oligopoly, you need to provide justification based on these grounds. I am saying that this company is coming under this particular industry, right? Yes, any doubts with regard to your group assignment? You have to collect 10 years data. Will they give it? Will they give it 10 years? Just take up most of the time. Okay. You just take you can get the 10-year data. If not, 9 years. If not 8. So first and foremost, please check whether you are in a position to get 10 years. Just ask, but anyway, maximum 3 years. Right? So sometimes they won't provide, but try to get if you know the company, but at least 3 years, because for you to do a vertical analysis, at least you need some data, isn't it? Otherwise, you can't. Any doubts up to now? Online students, yeah.
Yeah, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, is it possible you to explain the assignment again, group assignment again as what you did for the individual assignment? Because last week video is not available. Then
Okay, fine. I'll do. Okay, I'll do that. Assignment, hard copy or whatever. So it's when it's there, I will bring it. Right, okay. Right. Right, yeah, can you all see this LMS page?
yes, sir, we can see.
From March, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. Right, simply this is your group assignment. Alright, so what you have to do is you need to find out the company. Right, you need to find out the company which belongs to either one of these market structures, monopoly, monopolistic competition, or oligopoly. That's the first task that you have to do. Right, then what you have to do is select a company out of here and analyze how macroeconomic variables affect the production, sales, profitability, and future prospects of the market structure and the respective company that you have chosen for the task. Right? Simply you have to pick a particular company, right? Either from oligopoly, monopolistic competition, or monopoly market structure. Then you need to analyze how the macroeconomic variables, right? The inflation is the economic growth rate, unemployment. Other than these, you can analyze. So these are some examples, right? How these macroeconomic variables impact on the productions and the sales. Now, for an example, if a government increase import duty, it directly affects your production, isn't it? Your import duty cost is high, then your production cost is high, ultimately your selling price is high. Right? Then it will lead to your sales as well as the profits. Right? Likewise, you have to explain. Right? Now, when it comes to the employment rate, since you don't have much employees in your company, how it impact, right, to the lower production. Likewise, you have to explain. Right. Now, these are the requirements. You need to select a company which is having a larger market share in that industry for the detailed analysis. Right? So it must be a big company, right? It must be a big company. Now you have to visit the company, right? Visit the company that you have chosen to collect the relevant information. Right. So what are the things? So simply you need to identify the main players, simply the introduction about the company, right? What are the competitors? What are the products that they are offering or the services that they are offering? Then contribution to the GDP from the industry and from the company, right? I think you can understand that what I have written there. Right? So we have our total GDP. How we arrive at our GDP? How we arrive at our GDP? Yes, how we arrive at our gross domestic production? I think you have learned these things, isn't it? So in the economy, we have how many sectors? Huh? 3 sectors. Right? So what are those? Agricultural sector, there's output. Industrial sector, there's output. Service sector, there's output. The summation of each and every output given by each and every sector is what? The total output produced, right? So we call it as GDP. The total output produced within Sri Lanka. That is GDP, right? That is GDP. Now, what you have to do, you have to analyze the contribution from the industry by the industry as well as by the company to this GDP. For an example, let's say, if we have selected a particular company, let's say Rosel, right? So it's coming under the industrial category, right? Rosel. So you need to analyze the impact of the Rosel's output to the GDP over given number of years, right? To get the percentage. Is that clear? And you have to write it down. You have to write it to explain it properly, not only Excel analysis. You have to write it in a proper way. Then analyze how changes in the above mentioned macroeconomic variables and other policy changes. Simply these are the things, right? Would affect the selected company. Then you need to explain, right? So during these periods, the tax rates have been changed drastically, and this is the impact. You could explain it by using graphical mode, and also you need to bring your explanations as well. Clear? Graphical and written mode. Right, then import restrictions. Now, if it is for an example, let's say you have chosen a particular company, let's say a vehicle importing company. Let's say could be BMW, could be United Motors, could be Stafford Motors. Now they have a significant impact of these forex transactions, isn't it? So likewise, you have to tell the story, right? Tell the story because it's like a business report. It's like a business report. How when it comes to these import restrictions, how it impact to these vehicle importing companies, right? Now they are purely depend on imports, isn't it? Right? So if you look at AMW and other companies, yes, it depends on imports. Now without those imports or even by having those restrictions for their imports, how they manage their business? What will happen? What has happened? What are the issues that they face? Likewise, we have to analyze. Clear? Then explain how the current economic crisis in Sri Lanka would affect the business activities of the company. That is based on the prevailing knowledge and strategies used to face those situations. What are the strategies that you have to consider? Right? Even income tax also you can bring into this argument. Right? So we are paying corporate taxes and we are getting salaries. Salaries also taxed, right? Direct tax and the income tax. Then we go to the market, again tax, right? Indirect tax. Corporate tax is there, income tax is there, again indirect tax is also there. So you can bring all these arguments in your discussion. And finally, identify the market structure. This is what you have to do first. Yeah? You have to just identify the market structure. So a report must be submitted and the presentation must be done And actually, this is the structure of your report. Right? This is the structure of your report. Everything is given. Huh? Everything is given. These are the other requirements. Right? So maximum 50 pages, excluding content, cover, abstract, annexes, appendices, references, and more. Right? Maximum 15 pages or 4,000 words. And your formatting must be done based on Harvard. And these are the font styles, font sizes, and the line spacing, and even margins. So these are the things that we are most of the time referring to, right? The accuracy of your report, right? The tone that you have used, and most importantly, this one, right? Plagiarism. Plagiarism. So you need to write everything by your own words. Everything by your own words. Nowadays, you know that even Turnitin has incorporated. Have you know about Turnitin? So they have Turnitin. So it's a particular software we can use to check the plagiarism. They have incorporated artificial intelligence into their analysis where we can track even paraphrase sentences as well. Because if you look at internet, there are certain websites which offer you the paraphrasing facilities. Particular sentence is there, you can just copy and paste, click paraphrase. Within seconds, they rewrite the entire para within few seconds. And certain things we have to change, but even that's also captured by Turnitin. Thanks. Right? So you need to consider about these things. And your group presentation, it's for 15 minutes. Right? It's for 15 minutes. And all the members must participate for this presentation. Right? And it must be professionally done. Right? Please don't bring documents to here. Right? Again and again, I'm saying. And I will give the slide move as well. You can use this entire flow to do your presentation, and all the members must be seated in these front seats. So please don't come here. Right? All the members in your group, let's say your group consisted of 4 members, right? So all the members must want to sit there, and the presenter is coming and doing the presentation, and the next presenter is coming and doing the presentation. It's nice, no? It's nice. It's nice, isn't it? That's how it goes, isn't it? Because we all are professionals, isn't it? So otherwise you all come here and you know what happens, right? So is that okay, Duna? The illustration? I mean the explanation? Is that the explanation okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right, fine. Okay, so at what time you need a break? Now? Okay, so we'll have a break. So please come sharp back. 3:45. 3:45. Why it's 20 minutes? Because it's 2:25, isn't it? 2:25, isn't it? And it's all the phones. Okay, 3:50. Sorry, not 3:50, it's 2:50. 3:50, sorry, yeah. Okay, 2:45, huh? Yes, students, we are having a break. Please be here, sharp at 3:50. Check on that. Oh. License commercial banks, how many license commercial banks that we have? How many commercial banks? 79. No, nearly 26. With two government banks. Indian documents, some is working there, commercial bank. No, like, let's be a market leader. Market. Commercial you can count it there. हमारी market structure का बांग्ला तो ऊपर बढ़ गया ना कंपनी market structure बढ़ गया और सीमेंट का गेम है ना सीमेंट मैं करीब मॉडल को बोल रहा था सीमेंट तो हम स्टॉक का Right, shall we start? Okay, yes, online students, are you all there? Online students, are you all there?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, good. Right, okay, fine. Right, so extremely sorry for the delay. Right, so we'll start. Right. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about the third market structure that we are having, that is monopolistic competition market structure. Right, monopolistic competition market structure. Now, up to now in your business economics syllabus, you have 4 market structures to be learned. What are those 4? Very good. Last week was right. Perfect competition, monopoly market structure, then series, monopolistic competition, and the next one is oligopoly market structure. So now we are going to start learning about monopolistic competition, market structure. Very simple one, right? Very simple. Everything is simple in here, right? Okay. So I think that you all have downloaded the lecture materials. Then let us look at what are the learning outcomes. Now, once you complete this entire lesson, you should be able to identify the characteristics of monopolistic competition market structure. Then you should be able to discuss about the product differentiation, right? You should be able to discuss about the product differentiation. Then describe and illustrate the equilibrium under monopolistic competition, and finally compare monopolistic competition with perfect competition. So these are the knowledge levels that you are going to get once we complete this particular lesson, right? So these are the things we are going to learn under monopolistic competition. Simply, it's all about an introduction, then product differentiation and monopolistic competition. Then we are going to learn about features of the monopolistic competition market structure, then demand and marginal revenue curve. And again, we are going to discuss about the price and equilibrium in the short run as well as in the long run. So finally, we are going to do a comparison, right? Okay, so we'll start with the themes. Now, at the very beginning, if you could remember, before we starting the perfect competitive market structure, as well as before we starting the monopoly market structure, I told you that if you look at the real world, all the real world market structures are perfect or imperfect. Perfect or imperfect? It's imperfect. Now, for us to determine those are imperfect, we have to learn what is perfect. So that's why at the very beginning, in our discussion, we learn about perfect competitive market structure. So now thereafter, we learn about another imperfect competitive market structure, that is monopoly. Now this is the second one coming under that, monopolistic competition. This is again imperfect market structure, right? So we'll read here. It says, now perfect competition and pure monopoly are rarely found in the actual market situation, right? So perfect competition and pure monopoly. Pure monopoly means what? There is only one player in the market. There are, but rarely found in practice. So therefore, the conclusions which follows from the model of perfect competition and pure monopoly are found to be inapplicable, right? Inapplicable to the behavior of most of the business firms in the real world. Right? So perfect competition is a hypothetical market structure. We believe that if a market to be perfect, it must be like a perfect competition. Clear? Then when it comes to the monopoly, monopoly market structures are there in the real world based on variety of degrees, but pure monopoly, it's little bit difficult to find. There are, but little bit difficult. Accordingly, in order to bring the price theory nearer to the world, the theory of imperfect competition was developed. So now we are going to discuss about real marketplaces, right? Real marketplaces. So here it says, the credit for the development of this imperfect competition theory goes to John Robinson of Great Britain and E.H. Chamberlain of America. Now these are the two people who developed this particular concept, imperfect competition. Right, so here it says, in the real world markets, both competitive and monopoly elements are present in varying degrees. Right? Now we know that if you consider about a fruit seller or a vegetable seller, it is somewhat closer to the perfect competition, but we cannot label it as perfect competition, right? And monopoly market structures are also there. So this makes the actual markets imperfect, right? This makes the actual market imperfect. Right, so this is the entry level discussion to the monopolistic competition. Right, can you all see this? Can you all see this properly? Okay, I think you have your particular document, right? Right, so here it says, therefore the imperfect competition covers broadly two types of market structures, right? when it comes to the imperfect competition, there are two types of market structures. First one is monopolistic competition, and the second one is oligopoly, which we are going to discuss in our next lesson. Right. Now, when it comes to the monopolistic competition, what are the examples according to your knowledge? Monopolistic competition market structure. Now, one of the prominent feature of these kinds of market structure is product differentiation. That is the main element in this type of market structure. So if it is a perfect competition, the product is homogeneous, meaning the product is same. And when it comes to the monopoly market structure, the product is significant and there are no any close substitute for that product. Then when it comes to this monopolistic competition, the product is differentiated. That is the main feature of this kind of a market structure. Now, what do you mean by differentiation? Yes.
Speaking to one particular product, or speaking only to one particular product, they have variables.
That is diversification. Okay, that is diversification. Huh? Now, simply product differentiation means you are producing a particular product which can be what? Differently identified from another supplier. Right? Now, if you look at HP, laptop industry, now all the laptops, what you have Acer, Asus, Dell, HP, Bio, right? Then Lenovo. So many categories of laptops are available, but the product is laptop, right? So we can simply differentiate in terms of specification or features, right? So this is a HP laptop, this is a Dell laptop, and if you consider about HP, there are a variety of categories. If you consider about Dell, again there are a variety of categories. So that is what is simply known as product differentiation, right? Product differentiation. And if you consider about the Burger King burger, is different from McDonald's burger, right? McDonald's burger. And if you consider about this pizza, now in Sri Lanka, who are the producers and suppliers of pizza? Pizza Hut is there, then Domino's Pizza, then yes, Arro's Pizza, then okay, further. So then there is another category of pizza, isn't it? So when you at home, you can see here. The particular vehicle around your places, and they also have a pizza. One with the egg. It's also a pizza. Right? Product differentiation. Right? So that is simply product differentiation means your product can be easily identified from another competitor. Right? From another competitor. Right. So here it says monopolistic competition could be defined as the form of market structure. Right? Monopolistic competition could be defined as the form of market structure in which there are many firms producing differentiated products. Many firms producing differentiated products which are not close substitutes of each other. Right? Which are not close substitutes of each other. Differentiated products. Differentiated products are there. So this is what we know as monopolistic competitions. Many companies are there and they are producing different products. Different products. Okay. Clear? Right. Now, when it comes to the product differentiation, right? Product differentiation, there are two types. Right? There are two types of product differentiation. Right? So here it says in a monopolistic competition, there are various monopolies of different product varieties competing. Right? They are competing from different variety of products. Now there are two types of differentiation. Right? So you have something called first differentiation and the other one is second differentiation. First differentiation and the other one is second differentiation. Now when it comes to the first differentiation, it simply says the things that you do to the appearance of the product to make it different from your competitor. things that you do to the appearance of the product. Clear? Understood? Right now, if you look at the HP laptop, it is significantly different from Acer laptop. So by looking at the product, you can identify whether it is an HP laptop or a Acer or a Dell laptop. So that is what we do, or what we do to the appearance of the product. Right? Now, in Sri Lanka, we know that if you look at a watermelon, what about the shape of the watermelon? Watermelon. Yes, the shape of the watermelon. It's, let's say it's oval, right? But if you look at Japan, now recently they have, I think you have seen it, right? So it's something like a square. Right? So that is product differentiation. Same product, watermelon, we are still make it as oval, they convert it into different shapes. Product differentiation. Now when it's from Sri Lanka, if you look at the hotel sector, right? Now if you look at this, and for the beach, and whatever the view, everything, what we do, we have the sea over there, and after 200 meters, we have the hotel. Clear? But if you consider about Maldives, what do you do? Simply, they build the hotel or the restaurant or the resort on the sea. Simply, they are sending the view of the sea as well as the sound of the sea. That's how they gain dollars. But Sri Lanka, what we do? We only sell the view of the sea, not the sound. Again, product differentiation. You can see it as a product differentiation. Right. So that is what simply what we know as first differentiation. Now in Sri Lanka, we have, with sunlight is there, right? Different categories. Right? Different categories are there, right? So here it says, when it comes to the first differentiation, based on certain characteristics of the product itself, such as exclusive patent features, trademarks, and trade names, special type of packages or wrappers, if any, or difference in quality, design, or color or style. Simply, all these are the things that you could see once you look at the product. Clear? So that is what we know as product differentiation. Now, if you look at certain cosmetics items, have you heard about Sparsidone? You know it, right? Sparsidone. So what do you think about their products and the packaging? It's entirely different. Okay? So if you visit that particular location, it's entirely different. Right? Same cosmetics providers are there, but Sparsidone is different from the clear, different from them. And if you look at salons, as well as by looking at the simply the face of the bride, you can determine which salon is that. Right? You could do this, and in a very simple way, right? So that is what we know as product differentiation. All these are practical, right? All these are practical, right? Then the other one is second differentiation. First differentiation is the things that you do to the appearance of the product to make it different from one competitor to another. And the other one is second differentiation. Now it's purely based on how you provide your service, the quality of the service, the way of doing the business. That is what we know as second differentiation. Right? So if you look at like jewelry shops, again I'm saying, so when you go to a jewelry shop, how they serve you. Yes, how they serve you. So they say yes, sit. So then they serve you with a piece of cake, right? And a cup of tea. That's how they serve. That's how they serve. By doing or by providing such kind of a service, they are trying to differentiate themselves from one another. So that is the second part, second differentiation. So first differentiation is based on the things that you do to the appearance of the product to make it different from one competitor to another. And the second differentiation is how you do your business, the way of your tone, how you approach to your customer, right? The easiness of the location, everything is coming under the second differentiation. Clear? Good. So just rate these three slides. Yes, online students, are you all okay? Yes,
Yes, sir.
online students,
Yes, sir.
right. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Right? Okay. Right, so now let us look into some of the features of monopolistic competition market structure. Today, we have discussed some of the things. Now, the first one is there are a large number of companies in this type of a industry, but we don't have more companies than perfect competitive market structure. But still, we have more. So here it says there are relatively large number of firms under monopolistic competition, and there exists stiff competition between them. That's a significant competition between them. Now, if you look at the restaurants in Sri Lanka, we are having what are the restaurants in Sri Lanka? Simply, if you say in a very simple way, basic shops. Yes, great taste things. 1902. What is the company? Huh? What is the company? Fair and Sons. That is Fair and Sons. Then we have Fab. Okay, then green cabinet. Earlier it is pagoda, isn't it? Yes. Nowadays green cabinet. Then yes. Very good. Sensor. Yes. Right. So those are some of the shops that we are having. Same thing the restaurants. And if you consider about hotels, we have many. Right? We have many which offers different products. Right. So here it says, since there are products are close substitutes, the competition among the firm is real and tough. Further, the size of each firm will be relatively small. So you have many companies, accordingly, the market size of each and every company is more. Clear? Relatively small. Now, it's not small, relatively small. Relatively small. And the second feature is product differentiation. Actually, you know it. So what is product differentiation? Simply, you are producing the products which can be differentiated from your competitor. And there are two types of product differentiations. You have first differentiation and the other one is second differentiation. And the third one is some influence over the price. Now, what do you think? Now, when it comes to the perfect competitive market structure, we learn that those markets, those companies are price makers or price takers. Perfect competitive price takers. Monopoly, price makers. Now, what do you think? If you are a company which is producing different products, which can be differentiated from your competitor, what do you think? It is better to have the right to decide the price or not? Better, isn't it? Because you are providing your hard work and you are doing the manufacturing. So accordingly, it is a right of you to decide the price. Similarly, these type of companies have that kind of a feature. They can decide the price of their product, right? So here it says, this means that under monopolistic competition, an individual firm is not a price taker, but will have some influence, right? Some influence over the price of its product, over the price of its products. Therefore, under monopolistic competition, a firm has to choose a price output combination which maximize its profit. So likewise, simply profit maximization output. So they need to determine it. And the other one is non-price competition. What do you mean by that? Non-price competition. Yes, non-price competition. You do the competition, you compete with each and every other companies using some other models based on quality, based on packaging, based on the easiness of your location, right? Rather than pricing. That is what the meaning of non-price competition. Right, so here it says promoting sales of their products through advertisement is an important example of a non-price competition. So nowadays we are using most of the time social media to do our advertisements. Then, like the adjustments of price and product, the seller under monopolistic competition will also adjust the amount of his advertising expenditure to maximize his product. Now, these people needs to incur a huge amount cost for their advertising, and they need to adjust this particular advertising cost. Why? They need to consider about their profit maximizing aspect. As the advertising cost is high, and if they cannot generate a sufficient revenue, it's a loss. So the reduction of profits. Clear? So this is the fourth feature, non-price competition. And the other one is product variation. Actually, it is almost same as product differentiation. Almost same as product differentiation. And the other one is freedom of entry as well as exit. Now, when it comes to the perfect competitive market structure, yes, it's there. And it is very easy for us to enter into the market and we can easily exit out of the market. But when it comes to the monopoly market structure, it is very difficult for us to enter into that market. But here again, there's a pre-exit and pre-entry. But one thing you want to remember in here is that even though we say pre-entry and pre-exit is there, it is not that much free as perfect competition. Right? It is not that much free as perfect competition. Right? So here it says pre-entry means that when in the industry existing firms are making supernormal profits, the new firms enter into the industry, which leads to the expansion of the output. So we learned about this, no? When it comes to the perfect competition, when you earn profits, it attracts others to enter into your industry. Same thing happens here. As a result, price of the product tends to fall in the long run. However, it may be noted that under monopolistic competition, entry may not be as easy or free as under perfect competition. Right? Even though we say it is not that much easy as perfect competitive market structure. Clear? Right. Okay. So when we break these features of monopolistic competition, check whether you're okay with these things. Right. Okay, so these are the features. Yes, online students, are you okay with these things? Yes, online students.
Yes, sir.
Right. Good. So I think there are many students today, right? So Fernando, are you okay with the things? Suddenly, Sirivardhana, are you all okay with the things? Yes? Okay. Right. So now we are moving into demand and the marginal revenue curves. We are going to learn about demand and the marginal revenue curves of monopolistic competition market structure. Now again, this is same as monopoly, right? Simply, if you look at the demand curve is downward sloping, right? Demand curve is downward sloping, and these people can decide the price of their product. Again, even though they can decide the price of their product, they cannot sell their entire output for that price, right? If they want to increase the output, they have to reduce the price. If they want to increase the price, they have to minimize the output for the production. Accordingly, the demand curve is downward sloping, right? Demand curve is downward sloping. So here it says a firm working under monopolistic competition enjoys some control over the price of its product since its product is somewhat differentiated from other companies. So it is very, it's very rational for them to allow to decide the price, right? Therefore, the demand curve facing an individual firm under monopolistic competition slopes downward, right? Slopes downward. So that is what here it says. But a firm faces a more complicated problem. What is that? It cannot merely adjust the quantity at a given price since each quantity changed by it will bring about the change in the price at which the product can be sold. But if you want to change the price, accordingly you have to change the output. That is why our demand curve is downward sloping. So if you look at here, now simply this is the demand curve and the marginal revenue curve of monopolistic competition market structures. Simply the demand curve is downward sloping, and here you could see your average revenue, right? Your average revenue is also downward sloping. And marginal revenue curve keeps below average revenue curve. What could be the reason? Why marginal revenue curve keeps below your average revenue curve? Why? Excellent, that's the answer. For you to increase the production, you need to minimize the price. Accordingly, additional income by selling additional quantity is lower than your previous average revenue. That is why the same reason which we discuss under monopoly market structure prevails here as well. That is why your marginal revenue curve keeps below your average revenue curve. Right. So here it says your demand curve is equal to average revenue curve. Since the average revenue curve slopes downward, marginal revenue curves lies below it. This implies that marginal revenue curve lying below the average revenue curve is that marginal revenue will be less than the price for the average revenue of the product. The additional income that you are getting by selling an additional quantity is lower. Right, so this is simply about your demand and marginal revenue curve. Never mind, I know that you know these things, but just look at these two slides, check whether you are fully confident of these two. So we have already discussed these things in the monopoly market structure, but just check whether you are okay with these things. Right, okay, fine. Now you know the reason why your marginal revenue curve is below our average revenue curve. Okay, so then now we are going to look at simply the price output equilibrium under monopolistic competition market structure. Now we did this for perfect competition and we did this for monopoly and we are doing this for monopolistic competition as well. And we will do it for oligopoly market structure and price output combination. Now simply it's again all about the behavior of our marginal revenue and marginal cost curves. Right? Now here it says, we'll read and we'll have a discussion. Now here it says, a firm under monopolistic competition has to face various problems which are absent under perfect competition. Various problems. So what are those? Here it says, under monopolistic competition, individual firms market is isolated to a certain degree from those of its competitors or rivals, with the results that its sales depends on. Now simply the sales of a monopolistic competitor depends on its price, the nature of its products, and the advertising outlay it makes. In a very simple way. Right? So if we increase the price, sometimes consumers may switch into other companies. Right? And the nature of its products. Now, what do you think about the nature? Is it identical or is it different? Nature of the product? It's different, right? The product is different. So if you are not producing the product, which means the customer requirements, easily your customer can switch into another product. And the other one is advertising outlay it makes. Advertising outlay or advertising expenditure that he makes. Now, what do you think about that advertising expenditure? Now, even though the company is a big company or a smarter company, sometimes we have to go to the market and we have to say that we are still alive. Like we are still alive. Have you ever seen that? Sunlight is putting advertisements on television. Yes, they do. But we don't want the advertising. Why? Because we know that if we want to wash our clothes, Whatever it is, it's unlikely. Because it's there in our mindset, that is the customer perception, isn't it? But what they do in a simple way, they also know that, yes, they are the prominent product in the market, but still they want to go to the market and they want to say, hello consumers, we are still there, right? We are still there. So by doing so, what they are trying to do, they remind it to the consumers, we are still there, right? So still they have to do this advertising expenditure. They have to. So it's a very critical scenario when it's come to the monopolistic competition. Why? Their entire profits or sales revenue depends on three things. Price, it's a common factor for each and every product. And the second one is the nature of the product. Second one is nature of the product. Now, when it comes to the perfect competitive market structures, product is same. Right? Product is same. When you go to one competitor, go to another competitor, product is same. Again, at that time also it's a challenge for them. But here, the product is different. Therefore, it is another challenge. Right? Because if your product does not meet the customer requirements, he can switch into another company. And the third one is advertising expenditure that he makes to sell the company products. Okay. Now, if you look at some of the telecommunication providers are there, now they are doing a significant advertising. Who are they? Yes, right? Yeah, Dell is there. Now they are incurring a significant advertising cost for their products, right? Why? Because they have a particular target market, and their market entirely depends on how they position their product in the market. Okay, they position their product in the market, right? Accordingly, when we are discussing about the equilibrium of this type of a market structure, we need to consider about the equilibrium of these three things as well. Right, so here it says equilibrium of an individual firm under monopolistic competition involves the equilibrium in three aspects. That is, regard to their price and the output, nature of the product, and the amount of advertising that they incur. So simply they need to have a very good competition, very good combination in between these three: price and the output, how much they incur for their advertising cost, and what about the nature of their product. Simply they need to have a good combination in between these three. Otherwise, it is very difficult for them to position and get a higher sales in the market. Clear? Good. Now let us analyze the price and output combination of this kind of a market structure, monopolistic competition. Now here at the very beginning, you could see that there could be a profit and there could be losses, right? Profit could also be there and there could also be losses, right? So here it says profits will be maximized when the marginal revenue equals to what? Marginal cost. Very simple. So how many curves we need? The condition is marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. Accordingly, we need two curves at the very beginning: marginal revenue curve and marginal cost curve. Then we have to determine the profit figures. Accordingly, we need our revenue curve and cost curve. Right. So this is the behavior of the average revenue curve. It's downward sloping. And this is the behavior of the marginal revenue curve. It's also downward sloping. And here you have your marginal cost curve in the dotted line, blue dotted line. Then you have this particular curve, that is your long run average cost curve. Right? Sorry, short run. Thank you very much. Short run average cost curve. Right? Short run average cost curve. Now, what is the point? MR equals to MC. That happens at this point. Accordingly, you have to produce this much of output to maximize your product, to maximize your profit, right? This much of output to maximize your profit. So then if you go along this curve, first you are going to meet your short run average cost curve. It would be better if this short run average cost could comes little bit left here, right? Because we need to consider about the minimum point. Right? Anyway, you are going to meet your short run average cost. Accordingly, your average cost is how much? It's H. Right? So simply you are going to multiply this H from the given quantity, you are going to get your total cost. So this white color area indicates what? Your total cost. Then if you go along this curve, you are going to meet your average revenue curve. And this is the average revenue or the average selling price corresponding to this particular product. So if you multiply this price from the given quantity, you are getting your total revenue. But accordingly, your total revenue is, it's already mentioned, PS M0, right? PS M0. And your total cost is, this white color area is your cost, that is HT M0, right? HT M0. Accordingly, your profit is how much? This is the profit part. Right? It's PS TH. PS TH. So this is firm's equilibrium under monopolistic competition with profits. And there could be losses as well. If you cannot determine the price properly, right? And if you are not providing that much of advertising, sometimes your sales will be lower. As a result, you could earn losses as well. Right? So when you're going to illustrate these losses as well, we need these four curves: marginal revenue curve and average revenue curve plus marginal cost and average cost curve. Clear? Now what happens? The condition is here, point E comes here. This is the point where MR meets MC, right? So at that time, the company is going to produce M number of units, M number of units. Then if we go above this curve, we are going to meet our average revenue curve first, right? Why? This is a situation where the company earns losses. So this is your average revenue, that is T. And once you multiply your average revenue by your quantity, you are getting your total revenue here. This white color area is your total revenue. And if you go along this curve, again, it would be better if we can have this short-run average cost little bit left angle here, because to reflect the minimum cost, anyway, it doesn't matter. So this is your short-run average cost curve. And this is your average cost. Which is higher, revenue or cost? Cost is high. Accordingly, this is the loss. This is the loss. TR is your TEM0. Total cost is your GSM0. Accordingly, this is your profit. That is GSTE. Right? GSTE. Loss minimization. You need to try to minimize your losses here. There you are trying to maximize your profit. Here you are trying to minimize your loss. Minimize your loss. Right, so please check whether you're okay with these two slides. Check whether you are in a position to explain these two graphs by your own. Right, fine. Okay. Right. So, are there any difficult areas in business economics? I mean, we have reached nearly 75% of the syllabus. Fifty percent of the syllabus. We have to do oligopoly, international trade, balance of payment and forex. Finance, particular area is self-study. So what do you think? Yes, online students also you can join with these students as well. Now, up to now, what are the difficult areas that we have? Yes. Okay, which that is fine. Then. Yes, online students, you can also discuss, right? You can ask any things that you need to clarify. What are the difficult areas in business economics up to now? I mean, difficult in the sense you don't know anything about it. Simply you don't know anything about it. Like what are I'm having some gray areas. Simply you don't know a particular area. Likewise. Yes. Difficult areas. Right, any gray areas? Yes, online students. Any difficult things? All are easy.
All I see, sir, other than the assignment.
Okay. All are easy other than the assignment. No assignments.
Assignments.
Assignment only one thing, right? There's no anything. Why assignment is very easy? Yeah, because it's this,
It's very lengthy.
But how many pages do you need? Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, lengthy means the points, right? Isn't it? But when we are explaining those points, it's very easy, isn't it?
Details from them.
Sorry.
Is that possible? Details from them for their central campaign. Also,
Proof aside, right? Is there any other method available? Okay, you can decide, but you get all the details from their annual report. Some of the things are there, but anyway, I need to have the evidence there, either virtually or physically. Whatever the way, you had a discussion with them. Right? Okay. Because it's very easy for you because you all are working students, isn't it? That's why sometimes you can take your own company as well. If it is relevant, the assignment, is it relevant for the assignment? No, that's the issue, isn't it? The issue. But start working today onwards, right? Because 25th of March means it's nearly 4 days. Now we try to clear days differently. After this session, we don't have any 4-hour sessions. Am I correct? For discussing on this. We have only two 2-hour sessions and two 3-hour sessions. Right? Final day is for your presentations. And the other 3 days, we can easily complete the syllabus. Right? So, no matter about the completion of the syllabus, but these, are you okay up to now regarding the delivery and everything? Any doubts? Any improvements? Any improvements for our junior edges? Right? Yeah. Right. Right, so please start your assignment right now because I think you have another assignments from other subjects. Right, they have to go start those assignments. Right, have a proper plan, design group leaders for each and every lesson, I think, course unit for the subject. That's how you need to do, otherwise it's a pressure. You know, it's very well, you are working, you have some activities at your home, right? And you are married. So different issues are there. Right, if your online students, are there any difficulties from your end? Yes, nice students.
Yes, sir. Only the problem is time management, sir, because of the work.
Yes, so managing time is a assumption. Right, according to my experience, time management is an assumption. So what you could do is simply prioritizing. I don't know whether you agree with me or not. We can manage the time. So what we could do is we can prioritize. Believe me, there's a particular person who came for a lecture on time management, even he cannot complete his slides within the given time. Right, 8 to 11, right, discussion on time management. Even he cannot finish his lesson during the 3 hours. How do you manage that? It's very difficult. So the thing is, we have to prioritize everything. We have to prioritize. What are things that we have to simultaneously prioritize everything? Managing time, so yeah, I don't care about managing time because that's assumption. According to my point of view, sometimes you are okay to say yes, you can manage, but for me, it's an assumption. What I do is in a very simple way, it's all about prioritizing. It's all about prioritizing. And if you consider about time management means In between 8 to 11, I am completing this. In between 11 to 1, I am completing this. If it is a time management, it's okay. But as a whole, it's really difficult. It's a pressure. It's a pressure. So what most of the students they do, now what they do is they take whatever the book or the recommended reading or whatever the text document, and they sit on a nice chair in between 1 to 4. They decide to study. Their objective is to complete the 3 hours from 1 to 4. But they are not considering about the volume of work that they are going to do between 1 to 4. Only they consider about, yes, I studied from 1 to 4, but only 2 periods. What do you think? Only 2 periods. What we are doing, yes, 1 to 4, that's fine. How many topics that I am going to cover? Right? So based on your capacity, you know your own sort. Right? You know your own sort candidates. Right? So based on your capacity, you have to determine, yes, now it's afternoon, daytime, 1 to 4. I'm going to study business economics. What is the outcome of it? Right? How many pages or how many topics that I'm going to cover? That is not important, not the time. Right? Not the time. Oh, exactly. Students are there, 1 to 4. They are very happy because they study from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Not only 2 pages. Right? Don't try to memorize. Think everything in a practical way. Right? Because you are working and you can bring your own experience in these discussions. That's what you learn. Clear? Right, good. Fine. So what else? So now you know some basics of monopolistic competition and they are profit maximizing output part as well. Right? Profit maximizing output part as well. So now we are going to discuss about, right? We are going to discuss about the long run, right? Simply we are going to discuss about the long run of monopolistic competition market structure. Now here, under the features of our monopolistic competition, you learn that pre-exit as well as pre-entry. What do you mean by that? If others observe that the industry is earning profits, they can enter into this industry. Right? They can enter into this industry. Then what will happen? Yes, then what will happen? Yes, then what will happen? The supply will be increased and the prices are decreased. Now, on the other hand, you can easily exit from the industry. How? If you observe that in the industry there are losses, what you would do? You can easily exit out of the market. Then what will happen? Supply will be high or lower? Supply will be low. Because of that reason, price increased. For you told the investment. But what is the net impact? What is the net impact? It's zero. Right? Zero. Simply, in the long run, monopolistic competition firms, they are earning normal profits. Right? Normal profits. So that's the simple discussion under the long run of the monopolistic competition market structure. Right. So let's read this. Now here it says, right, each firm within the group, right, each firm within the group has monopoly of its own product. Yet its market is interwoven with those of its competitors who produce closely related products. Yes. Now his sales is dependent on what others do because most of the time they are closed substitutes. And here it says this interdependence of the various products on another is a prominent feature of monopolistic competition. Right? A little bit of interdependency is there. Right. Now let's read this one. Forget about this one. Here it says, when it comes to the short term, although all firms are making supernormal profits, there is no any reason for anyone to cut down the price below the given price. Now this is based on our next explanation regarding the graph. And here it says since the sales gain thereby will be insufficient to make up the, since the sales gain thereby will be insufficient to make up the loss due to the lower price. However, these supernormal profits will attract new firms into the industry. So when the industry is earning profits, it attracts other companies to come into this come into this industry. Then here it says, since supernormal profits attract more firms to enter the field, the market could be shared between more firms, and as a result, demand curve of each firm will shift downward to the left. The market demand is being shared because now there are many companies in the market. This process of entry of new firms and the result shifting the demand curve, the left will continue until the average revenue curve becomes tangent to the average cost. And therefore, the supernormal profits are completely wiped out. Right? Completely wiped out. In a very simple way, when the company is earning profits, other market players enter into the industry. Accordingly, what happens? The supply will be lower and the demand will low, and the price will also be lower. If we consider about the suppliers and this will happen till the supernormal profits are eliminated from the market, like perfect competitive market structure. Then you could see therefore the firm is in the long run equilibrium by setting the price QT or 0K and producing 0Q unit of output. 0Q unit of output. Right. So how do you explain this particular graph? Right? How do you explain this particular graph? Right? Now here it says, right now the profit maximizing condition is what? Marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. So you need your long run marginal cost and marginal revenue. And on the other hand, you need your average revenue and long run average cost to determine the profit or loss. So here it says, right? So here it says, now the condition is marginal revenue. We are discussing about the long run. Marginal revenue must be equal to long run marginal cost. And the point is point E. Now, if you go below, you could see Q number of units. You have to produce Q number of units. Q number of units. Then if you go along this curve, you are going to meet your which curve? Both average revenue curve as well as long run average cost curve. Right? So your average revenue is K as well as your average cost is also K. Right? So if you multiply your K with your Q, what will happen? Your average revenue is equals to your average cost. Your average revenue is equals to your average cost. So here it clears that in the long run, you're only earning what? Normal profits. You're earning only normal profits. Right? So here it says, because average revenue equals to average cost, here you could see the average revenue is equals to average cost. Right? The firm will be making only normal profits. Right? The firm will be making only normal profits. Actually, you can consider this curve as well because it touches the minimum point of the average cost curve. But for the moment, forget about this. Right. Okay, so here it says, since all the firms are alike in respect of demand and cost curves, the average revenue of all will be tangent to the average cost curve, and therefore the company is only earning normal profits. Simply, they get what they spend, right? They get what they spend. So since only normal profits are accruing to the firms, there will be no more tendency for new competitors to enter into the market. Therefore, the market will be in equilibrium. Right? So you are earning only normal profits. Accordingly, no company will enter into the market because you are not earning profits. It's all about normal profits. And company within the market is not going to move out of the market. Why? What could be the reason? If they go out of the market, they are not getting at least this sum. So that is why they keep in this market. So this is simply the long run equilibrium of a monopolistic competition market structure. And if you know the long run equilibrium of the perfect competitive market structure, this is somewhat same as, the concept is same as that, not the graph, right? Not the graph. Right, so could you please read these two slides? Please read this and check whether you're okay with these things.
These automatically earn and go to the total revenue, which is total cost, each will get actually of people.
Total critics. That's why we say this is total critics. Because if you are reading, you see, it's too much.
Revenue is
So the number of topics means single topics. One topic means zero.
actually like our people the revenue is higher.
That's a very then we have got this topic. It's not the counting rate, it means we are very equals to almost. So this is what happens in normal topics. Profit is normal. Profit is super means your TR is higher than your P. So I think this is what we have done in our perfect computer as well. It goes there in over 45. In perfect computer markets, just click and there goes the plan. It's normal profit 20. Perfect computer markets in the long run. If the average revenue is equal to average cost. Right? Are you all okay? Online students, are you fine with the things? Yes, online students, are you all okay with the things?
Yeah, it's fine, sir.
Right, okay, fine.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, is there any doubt from the online students? Is
Yeah,
it? Yeah, you can answer.
between normal profits and supernormal profits, is there any difference?
Sorry.
Is there any difference between normal profits and supernormal profits? I mean, any difference is there?
Yes, supernormal profits means your profitability is higher than your total cost. Normal profits means your TR is equals to your TC.
Okay, sir, I think.
Simply zero profits, huh? Zero profits. Okay.
Okay, sir, I think.
Right? Okay. Good. Right. So finally, going to the comparison between monopolistic competition and perfect competition. Right? Simply a comparison between these two. Now, in terms of production, when it's come to the perfect competition, we have homogeneous products. And we have homogeneous products. But when it's come to the monopolistic competition, we have differentiated products. Right? This is homogeneous and here differentiated. And if you look at the demand curve, it's perfect elastic. Right? It's a horizontal curve. But when it's come to the monopolistic competition, it's downward sloping. And here the selling price is same. Selling price is same, but here the selling price is given. Right now, HP Pavilion could be sold at a different price than HP Inspiration. Different prices, even in the same product. Then here, no advertising cost, but that's a cost of advertising. Right? No advertising, mine advertising is there. And here the price is equal to marginal cost, but here the price is higher than the marginal cost. That is what we assume, but there could be losses as well, as we have explained, and even normal profits. Then, this is not a realistic marketplace, it's a hypothetical marketplace, but it is a real marketplace, right? Real marketplace. Right, so monopolistic competition. So what are the examples? You can take restaurants, you can take salons, you can take hotels, right? You can determine the companies that you want to consider based on these examples. Right, so this is a time for you to ask any questions, any doubts, any questions relating to perfect, not more, yes, monopolistic competition. Any doubts? So what is monopolistic competition? It's coming under the category of imperfect competition, which is more close to the real world. Then how you define monopolistic competition? If you have more sellers and the product is differentiated, we can consider it as a monopolistic competition market structure. What are the examples? Salons, restaurants, right? Some bakery products, shoe manufacturers, hotels. You can consider as some of the examples for monopolistic competition. Then we learn about what? We learn about the features of these market structures. Now, the first one is we have many sellers, but you need to remember that that is not much as like perfect competition. And the product differentiation is there, product variations are there, and you are competing based on the non-price. Non-price competition is there. Then what else? Some features of this type of a market structure. Yeah, so you have the free exit as well as the free entry. Again, you need to remember that that is not that much easy as perfect competitive market structure. Then we discuss about the demand curve and the marginal revenue curve of this type of a market structure. Again, it's downward sloping and the MR keeps below the average revenue curve. The reason is same as the monopoly market structure. Then we discuss about the profit maximizing output in the short run. Now, before discussing that, we discuss that when it comes to these market structures, their sales purely depends on the price of their product and the nature of their product, as well as the advertising expenditure that they incur, because this advertising brings more customers to their company. Accordingly, in the short run, they may have losses as well as they may have profits. When it comes to the long run, what happens? If the company earns profits, more competitors, more suppliers will then take to the market, as a result, price decreases. And when the company is making losses, suppliers move out of the industry. So this will provide some upward pressure to the price. Ultimately, net impact is no loss or no profit situation, simply normal profits. Right? You incur what you get. Clear? Then at the end, it's simply a comparison between these two perfect competitive market structure as well as monopolistic competition. So you can ask any question. Right, online students, yes, you can also ask any question. Any question. Yes.